Does your case management suck? Are you struggling with poorly built Excel spreadsheets or some rubbish system and you just want a new alternative to reduce stress and make things a lot easier to manage? Well, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how we have recently built a system for a client of ours using Monday.com that has massively improved their case management. By the way, if you'd like us to help you set up this for your business, check out the link below. So as you can see, we are inside a platform called Monday.com. Now, if you're not familiar with the tool, feel free to give it a Google. Maybe there's a free trial link down the bottom if you want to use it. I don't care, you don't have to. But I'm going to walk you through how to set up case management within Monday.com. And we're going to get really advanced. So obviously new cases come in and then we want to associate a case with a company so we can see where that has come from. Also a contact automatically as well. And then we can log the number of cases associated with accounts and contacts. Then we can do some reporting. And then we can also add some clever form functionality that's going to make this a hell of a lot easier as well. So I'm going to walk you through everything. It's going to be quite detailed, but let's start with the very basics. You need Monday Work Management or any Monday system, to be honest with you, but work management will do the job. And the first thing we want to do is go ahead and create a new board. So I'm just going to go ahead and press new board. I'm just going to call this cases. You can have it main, private, shareable. Main, obviously open to everyone. Private means that it's restricted and only you and select people can access this board. And then shareable is if you're sharing this board externally with external parties. Again, I'm just going to leave it as main for the time being. And then we can select what we're managing in this board. Now, this is just a terminology thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and write cases in there and go ahead and press create board. So cool. Congratulations. You've just created your cases board. Pretty simple, right? We're just going to wait for this to load. And then the first thing we're going to have or we'll be presented with is this here. Now, there are a lot of changes that we want to make. So to start with, let's just think about the stages of a case. So we've got new cases, and that's kind of group number one. So when a new case is created, it's going to come into this group. I suppose we've then got open cases. Often open or active, the terminology again is entirely up to you. And then we've got what I often see is escalated cases. I don't think I've spelled that correctly. There we go. Escalated cases, and you can have that perhaps in an amber color. And then we've got closed cases. So obviously closed is good. And then you might have I don't know. Well, let's actually change that to green. So let's go closed cases, and then cancelled cases or non-answered or something like that. You could have an additional group. I'm going to hope that that never happens. Let's just delete that for the time being. So we've got new, open, escalated, and then closed cases. And then I'm going to change the status option labels available to us to represent these different options. So the gray and the default is always going to be new. We've then got open. We then have escalated, and then in the green we have closed. And then I'm just going to reposition these accordingly. So new, open, I can get rid of this one here. New, open needs to be purple. Sorry, the coloring is really important. This is it's a vital part of the system. I'm only joking, but I can't cope with that otherwise. So you can see you've got new, open, escalated, and closed. So congratulations, you've already got like a form of a case management system, and it was a lot easier to set up than most case management systems. Now the next thing we're going to do is just to run a basic automation that says when status changes to open, it moves to the group open, and we'll do that using the automate in the top right hand corner here. So go to automations, go create from scratch, and I'm going to run through this. Trigger being when status changes to something, when status changes to new, move item to the group new, and then press create automation. And then we're going to do that for every other variation. So create automation again, status changes to open, then we're going to move the group again to open, hit create automation. I'm sure you're starting to get the idea now. Status changes to escalated, move item to group escalated, and press create automation. And then finally, when the status changes to closed, then move item to group closed. Cool. Simple as. So we've kind of got the basic set up here. Another thing that is really important to add, especially with case management, is tracking when a case was created, when a case was closed, and then the time difference between the date created and the date closed. So what we're going to do is we'll utilize one of the existing date columns. I'm just going to rename this to date created. And then I'm going to go ahead, press the three dotted button, go to settings, and I'll restrict column editing. Now, the reason we don't want people to be able to edit this particular column is because we're going to have it auto populate with an automation. I'll show you in a minute's time. Very simple. And then we're going to add another date column, and this is going to be date completed. Okay, so this is when the status of the case is changed to closed. So date completed. We will then hide the column summary. We're then going to restrict the column editing, and then we will run an automation in a moment's time. And then what we want is a formula, and then formula, just hit the formula option. And then what we want to do is work out the difference between the day of the date created to the date completed. The easiest way to do this, if I'm honest, is just use the AI assistant, which in all fairness is actually pretty decent. So I would say, tell me the difference in days between the column date created and the column date closed. Hit enter. Hopefully it will work, and I'll know if it has. It has. And then just hit insert, and then just press set formula, and then I name this TTC, which is time to close. And then I'm going to go ahead and press hide column summary, and then I'm going to go ahead and restrict the column editing, and I'll probably make this a little smaller as well, just so it's out of the way. Now you'll see here, this is the 22nd of May. I'm going to change this to the 23rd. You can see that that is now equal to 1. So the reason we're doing this is we're building reporting functionality for the future, because I'm going to cover in this very extensive video reporting functionality for cases as well. Now, the final thing we need to do for this segment is obviously the automations. So we go to automate in the top right hand corner, go create automation. The first one is for date created. So typically I just do when item is created, set date, and we're going to use date column, obviously date created today. So what we're saying obviously is when a new item is created, and I'll just show you this, AA, when a new item is created, then we're changing the date created to the 20th of May, or whenever that item was created. Today is the 20th of May. And then we'd create another automation. And then what we can do is actually just bolt on the additional changes to when the status changes to closed. So you can actually click into this one when status changes to closed, and we'll add another action. So obviously trigger an action, and then set date, and then it's going to be date closed or date completed to today. Okay, so when the status changes, and I'll show you what that looks like now, you've got, let's take this one, 18th, item 3, when status changes to closed, move item 2 group closed, and then also set the date completed to today, and that gives us 2 days it's taken to close this particular case. So now we've kind of got what I would describe as the fundamentals of case management setup. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that we need to factor in. So for example, we'd probably want a label column. And then what we will want to be able to do is track like the case type. So whatever issue that they're submitting for is. So obviously you've got loads of different options here, but it might be, let's go as an example, let's assume we're a construction company dealing with cases. So it might be a water leak, or we might have a gas leak. I don't want a gas leak. Or we might have broken door. I don't know, I'm literally making it up as we go along. Or if we are working on the IT side of things, it might be like system, or you might have change request. This is a great example actually. Or we get rid of the green. Typically we don't use green because it's an indicator of something being done. Another video for that, and you can check that out above. You might have change request or bug. So obviously change request case type is that they've requested a change, but something is working, or a bug is something's not working. And you can use whatever terminology you want. I mean, it's a bit weird that we've got a water leak and a bug, but let's just ignore that for example's sake, but hopefully you get the idea. So that's the case type, okay? And then also what we would probably look to add is a priority. So, I mean, the problem with priority is, as far as most people are concerned, it's always critical, which is annoying. I mean, people always seem to think it's the worst case scenario. It's rare that I've seen people actually use the priority column with any sort of consideration for what the meaning of the word actually is. But that's an entirely different conversation, and I'm not going to go down that route. But needless to say, a lot of the cases that come in will end up being either high or critical if you want to use priority. Now, another really important function is obviously just a long text column, and this gives the person that's submitting it the opportunity to describe the case. So case description, and that can be added. And then you've got files here. So if people want to upload files, that's absolutely possible. So case files, if they've got perhaps a photo of the issue or something along those lines, then they can do. And then of course you can begin to build out more nuanced information for your business and whatever you're using case management for. You can use the plus column on the plus button on the right hand side here, and just scroll through. You'll see loads of different options. You might have a numbers and a timeline and a date and when it's going to be fixed. So that's actually a great example. I'll come on to that now. So what you can also do within a case is obviously you've got the front end submission information, which is the case name, might not even be the case name, but it might be case type, case priority, case description, and case files. But then we internally would then manage on this board, let's say the case cost. So how much is it costing us? And we can do that with a numbers column. Go 3-dotted button settings, and then we can select our unit. So if it's the dollar or the pound or the euro or whatever other currency, I'm just going to press not now on that, and then I'll hide the column summary here. So I can now input, well, I've assessed the case, it's going to cost me $100. And then what we might also have is another column, and we'll go ahead and press the plus column, another numbers column, and we'll add that, slide it across here. And then we might say that the case cost is 100, case revenue, so this is how much we're billing or charging out for this particular case. I might actually put this here again. We'll go for the dollars again just to keep things consistent. Always hide the column summary, and then we could say maybe it's 150. And then what we could do if we wanted to is add a column. We could add a formula, and then we can just go AI assistant, give me the difference between case revenue and case cost. Hit enter, and now we've got a case profit. So there we go. I mean, that was pretty simple. I probably could have worked that one out. Oh, actually, before we do that, just show the column summary on here. Make sure you select the unit as the dollar, hide the column summary. What I would do is then go case profit. Now this might not apply in your particular instance, but again, it's just quite good and useful to know. Always restrict the column editing for any formula column, because otherwise if you've just got a standard user on the system, they can click into the formula and sometimes they can break it. It does happen. So you've got case revenue, case cost, case profit. Now the next kind of level up from all of this is assigning people to a case and also knowing who submitted the case. So to do that, what we actually need to do is create a couple more boards. So the first board we are going to go ahead and create, and we'll do so pressing the plus button in the top left hand corner, is the contacts board. So these are just contacts. Just think of these contacts as people. Again, privacy options, select whatever you want, and then custom, I'm just going to write in contacts here, and then go ahead and press create board. So the contacts board is all of the people that you work with, whether they are internal or external, and I'll come on to a few differentiating options in a moment's time. But just what we'll do is, just to get this board set up really quickly, we'll delete the bottom group because we don't need it, use the top group as contacts, and then the status column, what I often see people do is we would use the contact type. But there might be instances where you don't necessarily want to use the contact type. So I'll come on to that in a moment. But what we would say is, let's say this is a client contact, and then I'll just delete that. Or we might have, I don't know, subcontractor. So if we're using our building example again, we would have clients who submit the cases, and then we assign subcontractors to those cases who then fulfill on that requirement or that particular case, and then we can get a status for it. So hopefully that makes sense. What am I doing here? Just getting rid of the green one, and then I'm going to delete these two, and then we might have another one. I don't know, accountants. Nah, let's just get rid of it. Go on, get rid of it. So we only need one group. We can group by the contact type if we want to. So we've got a group by function here, and I can group by the contact type. As you can see, pretty simple. And then we can just add additional information. You might want to add the date created function that we did earlier. So date created, restrict column editing, and then do the automation. It's entirely up to you. You might have files associated with them. Typical standard stuff would be an email address. It would also be a phone number. And if they're a client, you might actually have a location or address column. So we might just add that just for, and I'll show you why this might be useful later on. So we can scroll across here. Cool. So email, phone, address, whatever, file information if we want to. Actually, I might just delete that. And there we go. So we've got contacts, and then we've got accounts. So we would add, or go ahead and add another board, and then this is accounts, or you can call it companies. So just imagine that every single contact realistically in your system should actually work for a company. So there should be an association between a contact and a company. So again, same principle applies. I'm just going to keep this real simple. Delete the bottom group, just go companies as the top group, hit enter. Status can be company type. Again, you might do, I don't know, subcontractor, and then client, and then you might have a few other options as well. That's up to you to decide. I'm just going to reposition this accordingly, and then Again, oh, the green is so annoying when it does that. And then just hit delete. Cool. So now we've created the companies. Again, you can track whatever company information you need to. There's probably less information to track a lot of the time. Actually, I'll just leave that. I'm not going to create the automation, but just so you get the idea. Date created, restrict the column editing again. And then, yeah, you could add long text information. We could just add short text information. So we could have, I don't know, company description, hit enter, and then some additional information if you want to, like a short text, just a standard text column that says, like, I don't know, tax info or tax number, hypothetically. Or you could add like address information and stuff like that. You get the idea. This is just general company information. This is where you'd store it. Again, with contacts, this is where you store the general contact information. And you're probably wondering, what has this got to do with cases? Well, let me come on to it in a moment. So what we'll do is you create a connection column between the contacts and the companies. So to do so, we're going to press the plus button, go to connect boards, and then we'll connect the companies to the contact. And what we do is select the companies board, or if you're on companies, you need to select the contacts board, and then just ensure you press create a two-way connection, because we want the connection to show up on both sides. So we'll go ahead and press connect boards, press I'll do it later. And then on the contact side, it's just going to be company singular. So every single contact is assigned to a particular company. So let's just assume this is Nick, this is Alex, and then Alex, sorry, mate. And then this is Sally. Here you go, press enter. So now on the companies, you'll see that this column is populated. We've got contacts, hit enter. And then this would be plural because there can be multiple contacts associated with the company. So I'll bump this up to the front here and I'll just say Alex, or well, Nick and Alex both work for item 1, which is company 1. Let's just rename that to company, big, important company. And then item 2 can be not so important company. I don't know why I've named it that, but oh well, it is what it is. You get the idea. Just delete example number 3. So you can see that there are 2 contacts associated with this particular company and then 1 contact associated with this company. So now we've got our contacts and our companies. We then got our cases. Now, what we want to do is when a case is submitted, we want to automatically associate a particular person with a case. And we're going to do that strictly via their email address. So we're firstly going to go ahead and press add column on the cases board, and we're going to connect to the contacts board. So connect boards as the column, select boards, and then we're going to go ahead and select contacts. Again, create a two-way connection and hit connect boards. So now we'll have the contact associated with this particular case automatically populating, which can be really, really helpful. And then I'm just going to call this contact. And this is why a form becomes so unbelievably helpful, and we'll discover that or work through that later on. So now, when we have a case, a contact can be associated. So let's say Nick. And then if I go to the contacts board and I pre-populate some information here. So my email address and my phone number, 1234567 and then my address if I want to. So let's just say London, and then hit OK. Then I go back to my case here and I can mirror across this information. So I can go add column to the right, mirroring from the contacts board, and then I can mirror over the company automatically. So I know exactly which company this contact works for. And then I could mirror across also their email address. What am I doing? Mirror. I'm using a mirror column to, sorry, I'm getting very confused here. Selecting contact and then obviously searching email. And then I could do the same for phone number as well. So add column to the right, again, just another mirror column, and then it would be phone number. And then also if there's additional information that you need to mirror over from the contacts board that you're storing on the contacts board over to your cases, you can do phone number. So which makes it really easy. So you don't have to repopulate or duplicate information on the cases board. You just connect the contact to a case. Now, the nice thing about this is we can then see the number of cases associated with the contact, consequently the number of cases associated with the company as well. So this information does become really, really useful, especially when we get onto the reporting side of things. Cool. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. So for a real life example, what we were doing, let's just delete all of the dummy information we have at the moment and just press delete. A new case comes in from a person, could be anyone. So we go ahead and press new case, and I'm going to call this company A, Nick Boardman, for example. I'll then assign this to myself. So this is internally who we've assigned it to. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the contact, which is the external contact that this is associated with. And I'll click myself. I've then got all of the relevant information I need. I know which company. It's actually big, important company. God, don't want to get that wrong. Important company. And there we go. And then we got their email address populated automatically, their phone numbers now populated automatically, and then I can select the status. So now I've assigned it to someone. They can then open it and begin working on the case. We've got the case type. So in this instance, there's a change request. The priority is of course critical, and then I have a brief description about this particular case and hit enter. No one's uploaded any case files, but then I've assessed this case and I said, well, the case revenue we're going to charge out at $200 and the case cost is about $50. So we got $150 in case profit. You can also see here that the date created is 20th of May. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the status to be open. So this case is now automatically marked as open within Monday.com. And it'd be really easy to manage this. We can add a few different views as well. So if you want to manage your cases slightly differently, like in a Kanban style, for example, which could be quite helpful, then you can do. So you'll be able to see new, open, escalated, and closed cases. You can also hit the cog in the top right-hand corner and just change the way the Kanban looks. So you can change status, whether it's Kanban by status or case type or by priority. It's entirely up to you. And you show the battery, hide the battery, show the new Kanban view or not. There's an old one and a new one. Not that it looks that different. The only key thing to note on the old one, as you can see here, is you can select the columns that you choose to show or consequently hide, and then you can just drag them across from one step to the next. So the Kanban view for managing cases might be really important. Another thing to note when managing cases is you can filter by person. So if you've got lots of people working on the cases board, they don't necessarily want to see other people's cases. So we could filter, or just what the easiest thing to do is go to filter where person is and then me dynamic. So that means I'm logged in, so it's dynamic to me. If someone else logs in, it'll be dynamic to them. And then you just hit that and just press save to this view or save as new view. And then you can create that view very, very easily. So this is kind of more general information about Monday.com, but you can see how case management now becomes a lot easier. So we've seen in the past, people have sites. So there's a site associated with a case. What I would typically do in an instance like that is I would create a new board. The board would be called sites. And then there would be a separate connection column to that particular site. So we've obviously connected to contacts, but in this instance, I'll create a new board called sites, and then I'll connect the case to the site. We'd be able to see the number of cases associated with a particular site. In fact, you know what? Let's just do it really quickly. Yeah, it's easier to walk you through it. So we created a new board, called it sites. I'm not going to worry about the terminology here. I'm not going to worry about setting this up. Just imagine a site is a building site. You need location information, or like, let's just say all sites for the time being. You might have, we probably don't need a status, to be honest with you. We might need a location column. And a few other bits and pieces as well. But then what I can do is I can create a new connection column on the cases board. So connect boards column, and then I connect this board to the sites board. So then I'll be able to see all of the cases associated with the particular site, which is really, really helpful. You can take this a step further, or this can be tweaked and optimized and changed. So like I said, if you do need us to help you with any of this, just check out the link below. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We've also seen sites and projects are relatively similar. I'm trying to think of if there have ever been any other use cases for this, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there has been. I know there's a lot of nuance to this and how your business is operating. And of course, we can either help you customize it, or it's just a case of figuring it out as you go along. Now, the next most important thing is obviously forms. So I'm going to walk you through how to set up a form function where if someone enters their email address, well, actually, let's just do the form first. So you can add a view in the top left-hand corner here and go to forms and create a new form. And you can just use the Monday.com form setup. I don't know why it's not working. I'm sure it should in a moment. We hit refresh and it will work. So you can see here, it pulls over all of the information we have from our main table that we've set up. But it's really easy to edit form. So we just press edit in the top right-hand corner here. And then as you can see, you've got all of your content on the left-hand side, and we can hide and show different pieces of information. So for example, the date created, completed and the date completed, we want to go ahead and hide these questions from the form. The reason being is we don't need them to be visible because it's automatic, and it's populated by an automation when they're created. I suspect case cost and case revenue in this particular instance, we can hide those questions. So case cost and case revenue, we can hide the questions. Very nice. Case files we'd probably want to keep, but leave it as optional. Some people might upload information, some people might not. Case description, what I would do in this particular instance is I would make this required. So we're saying that this is required in order to submit this particular form. The priority I would probably make required as well. And you can obviously make some changes to these different things here if you want to. Bear in mind that if you make changes on the form, it does reflect on the table. So it's up to you. There is conditional logic to all of this as well. So if, let's say, someone added as critical, you could include a condition that says where the status is equal to critical, then ask some additional questions. That could be helpful. I'm not going to cover that in too much detail in this video, but you've got case type as well. So this is again something that's going to need to be required. I think we selected priority as being required as well. And then status we would want to hide, as we know that status is an internal thing. So we would hide that question, and then we want to give it a name as well. So we would want to make sure that the person submitting the form gives the case a name, and you can add descriptions as well for each of the columns to prompt them on things that they need to enter in. So that's another option as well. You can then preview the form if you want to. Just hit preview and you'll see here that this will take you to what the form will look like. You can make some changes to the way it looks as well. So if you press the buttons in the top right hand corner, you can change the coloring, the image as well if you want to upload an image to your form. You've got the format, so I mean you can do kind of different format options. It's entirely up to you. You can change the text or the font, and then you can reposition the way the text looks as well. Why you choose to do that, I don't know, but it's entirely up to you. You've also got settings up here, so we've got loads of settings to go through. Submit multiple forms, you can give them the option to submit multiple. Save as a draft if you want. Anonymous form, I wouldn't worry with in this particular instance. Recapture challenge to make sure bots are not submitting, you can do. Response limit, if you want to limit the number of cases coming in, you can do, but if you're making money through cases, I don't think you'd want to do that. You can schedule a close date for a form, again, up to you. What I would always recommend doing is hide the branding on the form, because you don't want the Monday.com branding on your form. Very annoying that they leave that blank or leave that turned off. After submission, you can give some submission options. So response viewing allows submitters to view and download their submissions, tick or untick. That might be quite useful. I mean, if you want to get really complicated, you can actually auto send emails to the person that has submitted the form, and then they'll get it in an email format just to acknowledge that you've received the case. Again, I'm not going to cover that in this video. Response editing, redirect URL. So if you want to redirect them to another page once they have submitted the form, you can do. And then you've got add tags to your forms to make it easier to track or create campaigns. This would be used more for, let's say, Facebook ads, Google ads, stuff like that, to see where people have come from. And then we've got board include name in question. In this particular instance, the case name is something that they would need to submit. That's the first column on the actual board. You can untick that if you want to. Include update section and form I wouldn't have on. Sync questions and column titles. So essentially that means that the column titles on the actual main board versus the questions that you're asking on the form, if you sync them and you make changes on the form, they update on the main table. I would typically have this unticked. And then allow creating items via form. Add option in main board to create new items via form, I would leave unticked. And then any new submissions go to the group new cases in this particular instance. So those are all of the changes that I would look to make. I know this is a lot to take on board, but now you have a form, and if you go to preview, someone can go ahead and example case submission. Great spelling, example case submission. The case type is going to be a water leak. The priority is a medium. The case description gone horribly wrong. And then all I need to do is press submit. And then that information is now added into my cases board. And I'll go to my main table here, and you can see that that's now come in. And then someone at the moment would need to manually assign this, the responsibility, And what we're not tracking is the contact. So who has actually externally submitted that? And I'm going to come on to showing you how to do that now. So we've obviously got this information. The information has come in. It makes sense, right? Manual stuff needs to be done, like assigning the person and then the contact record. But the external person that submitted it obviously hasn't come through. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you this cheeky automation that we can use to automatically connect a contact record based on the email address provided. So we're going to go ahead and press plus on the far right hand side, and we're just going to use a text column, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and select text, and we're going to go and we're going to call this external email and hit enter. And then we will restrict the column editing, and then we're going to just make it a little small. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to automate in the top right hand corner and go to create, and we're going to use one of the templates. So you can't actually do this just using the standard recipes. We're going to go where an item is created in this board, connect the item where this column matches this column in another board by this logic. And what we're going to do is we're essentially telling Monday.com that when an item is created and the external email address column matches the email address column on the contacts board, then we automatically want the contact to connect to the case. Now this is obviously getting slightly more advanced, but I did tell you this would be a deep dive. So we're going to go ahead and select this, and then we're going to go ahead and firstly select this column. So this column being the external email text column, and then in another board is going to be our contacts, and this could be challenging to find the one that it is. I think it's this one. And then this column is obviously going to be the email address, and then we're going to connect via the connection column, the contacts connection column. Then we're going to go ahead and press create automation. Now the final thing that we need to do is just update our form. So on our form, if we go to edit, we need to make sure that the external email is going to be sat at the top here. And what we can do is obviously we're going to unhide the question. We're going to make it required, and then we're going to change the name, and I'll just say, what is your email address? Question mark. There we go. And that's pretty much it. So now what I can do is if I press preview, and this is obviously our new form, I'm going to put nick@crmcrew.com, name being case name dash name, whatever, case type being broken door, priority, medium, case description, and hit submit. What's going to happen is if we go to our main table, a new item is going to be created, but it's going to automatically connect to the contact record because the email address that's been submitted on the case also exists on the contacts. Now bear in mind that this will only work if that email is present on the contacts record, but it is unbelievably helpful and can save an enormous amount of time. After I'd finished the video, it had actually occurred to me that I did mention I would cover reporting in this video, so I have returned for part 2. So if there's a weird transition, apologies for that, but I'm just going to walk you through some basic reporting within case management of Monday. So what we'd do in most instances is we would press the plus button in the top left hand corner, and what we'd want to do is create a new dashboard. So I'm just going to call this case dashboard, and then I'll leave it as main. And what we're going to do is we're going to feed in information from our cases board and our contacts board. And what we probably do actually, cases, contacts, but we need companies. Let's just do cases and contacts for the time being and just hit done. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and add widgets to get a very accurate picture of exactly what's going on with all of our cases and all of the contacts as well. And of course, if you are using sites or projects, you can take this a step further. So if we press add widget in the top left hand corner, and let's go for a numbers column, for example. So I'll just build it out how I would typically do this. And numbers, what I would do is first and foremost, active cases. So this is the total number of cases that are, let's just make sure the terminology matches. So we've got open cases. I go to settings, 3-dotted button, and then settings, and then we go count the number of items, and then customize. We don't need to worry about any of this. Boards, we would just have as the cases, we would unselect the contacts, and then we just want to make sure that the group is equal to open. So I would untick closed, untick escalated, and untick new. So this is going to show me the total number of open cases, and I would do the same. So again, numbers again, and then I would probably do the same for escalated. Again, I'm not escalated, got cases, and then probably again I would do the same for new cases, or So what we do, again, 3-dotted button, settings, we're going to go for account, customize, obviously we don't need to worry about that for the time being. Unselect the contacts board, for this is strictly just for cases, and then the group is going to be the escalated, so untick everything bar the escalated cases. Then we can close that down, and then what I'll probably do is just duplicate this, change this to new cases, and then go to 3-dotted button, go to settings, and then instead the only thing we actually need to change in this instance is the grouping, so it's from new to escalated. Untick that and retick that, and now we've got some basic reporting information about the total number of open, escalated, and new cases. Now, if you want to get more sophisticated, which of course we do, we want to go ahead and press add widget, go to numbers again. And then in this instance, what I want to do is I want to find out the time to close. So the average time to complete a case, or average time to close a case. There we go, hit enter. And what we're going to do is in this instance, we're going to use columns, and we're going to select one by one, and then we want to use TTC, and then we want to go to customize, and we want to get an average. And my recommendation is just use decimal places and then go manual and then just have that. And then you can use a unit and select right and then just put days, so it's a bit easier to understand exactly what's going on. And then on boards, you want to unselect the contacts board, and then groups, what I would always do is just have closed cases, because escalated, open, and new, they're not going to have an end date column, so or a date completed column that's got information in it. So I would unselect these three, and this will show me the average time it takes to close a case. Cool. So that's quite helpful information. We can then again begin to just take this further and further and further. So we can do more numbers columns. So let's say we wanted to find out the average revenue per case. So we go AVG, revenue per case, and hit enter. Then I'll go to the 3-dotted button, go to settings, and then columns one by one again, case revenue, customize. I want, and this is going to be obviously in the dollar. I want an average amount, and then I want the decimal place to be manual, and I just want 2 decimal places. Unselect the contacts, and then obviously you can select what groups you want. You could arguably have all of the groups, or if you just want the revenue per closed cases, you can do. It's entirely up to you. And then what we can do is go settings. Then what we can do is go 3-dotted button, go to duplicate, and then we go average cost per case, 3-dotted button, settings, and then unselect the revenue and just select the case cost. The customization function we've already done because I duplicated, so average, manual. Boards is just cases, and then groups again. Again, it's up to you if you want to use all of the groups or just the closed ones. And then finally, 3-dotted button, duplicate one final time. We go average profit per case and go to 3-dotted button, settings, and then we go case profit and unselect case cost. Customize, remain the same again, boards remain the same, and groups remain the same. So now we've got, this is our average revenue per case, average cost per case, and then our average profit per case. If I go to our cases board and I change some information on here, so let's say this is 5,000 and then the case cost is 2,500, that gives us a case profit of 2,500. Go to my case dashboard, you can see how this instantly changes. Okay, so our average across all of our cases, our average cost per case, average profit per case. Helpful, right? Again, you can go you get as advanced as you want with all of this. Just go back to the cases board. Let's see if there's any other data worth tracking. We've got case type. That actually might be worth doing. So if we go to our case dashboard, we could add another widget and go by chart. And then we could go 3-dotted button, settings, and then the chart type in this instance is going to be a pie chart. And then we go labels, and then one by one, and then we select the case option. And then let's just select case type. So we would, happy with all of that. Customize, happy with all of that. It shows a value or a percentage. You can change the colors if you like. What I want to do is obviously unselect contact. So this now shows me all of my cases by type as percentage. So now I can see what percentage of all of the cases that have come in have been a broken door versus a change request versus a water leak, and all of the other options. Now, again, you can do new, open, escalated, closed. It's entirely up to you. And then just going back to this, the label is obviously going to be case type. The values is going to be all at once, and you want to count the items. You can get an average. I mean, this makes no sense for this just small pie chart, but you get the idea. So I can make this a little bit smaller and then reposition accordingly. put it up here, maybe fit it in just like that. And then we go cases. And if I change this one down here to a gas leak, or let's do bug because it's nice and red. And then go to our case dashboard, you can see that we've got quarter, and we've got that one, and it's instantly reporting on the information. So now we've kind of got our top section up here. Let's just add some more information. So what would I often want to know? I would probably want to know the number of cases created per month. Number.cases created per month. Hit enter, I go to 3-dotted button, go to settings. And then this instance, chart type is just going to be a bar chart. The x-axis, actually, before we do this, just go to boards and unselect contacts if you have got contacts selected. So we're just working on the cases board. The x-axis is going to be 1 by 1, and it's going to be the date created. So obviously that is why that important automation we set up earlier in this video is so important. And then we've got the y-axis, so you've got all at once count items, or you can use some of the other functions if you want to. So case revenue per month, I'll come on to that in a moment. But at the moment, we just want to track the total number of cases created on a monthly basis, which we've got here. Then got customize. You can customize the data if you want to, edit the color and the text. Benchmark lines. So this is quite helpful. If you want to say that, look, the minimum we want is 20 cases per month, and then go minimum, and then we could have that in red, and then we could add another benchmark line, which is optimal. I don't know, optimal, is that optimal? Hang on, sorry, 50. Let's say 50, and then we write here optimal, and then that's going to be in our green. And then per month we're able to see how far we're off we were. Then we've got boards and then groups. So if you only want closed cases to show in this, but that wouldn't make sense in this particular instance, you would want to have all cases selected or all groups selected. But you can see here how this report would then begin to work, which is quite cool. So that's number of cases per month. And then again, we could duplicate this sort of thing and then go to the 3-dotted button in the settings. And instead of the date created bit, or actually we would probably leave the date created, we can change the y-axis to be, let's say, case revenue. And then we get sum, what we want to leave it as a sum. And then I would remove these benchmark lines in this particular instance. So I don't need that, don't need that. And now I can see what our case, or let's say case revenue per month is. So case revenue per month. There we go. So now it's really easy to see. Case revenue. I don't know why that's counting, and then that's gone weird. Count. Let's just hit refresh. Something weird has happened within Monday.com, it appears. Okay, so why is that count? Go to settings, chart type, x-axis, month, date created, y-axis. That would be why, because both of them are selected. That's my bad. So we just want to make sure case revenue is selected. There we go. So now I can see case revenue per month. So what obviously else we could do is, again, duplicate this, and we could go case profit per month. And then we go 3-dotted button, settings, chart type. Again, y-axis is the only thing we're going to change here. And then it's going to be case profit. And then obviously we don't need to change other information. Now, I could go on like this forever. There's so many different reports we could create. One really interesting one I would probably find is we go to duplicate here and go to case profit per case type per month. Case profit per case type per month. So now I can see the profitability per case type on a monthly basis. So what we're going to do in this instance, 3-dotted button, we go to chart type. We're actually using a stacked bar graph because we need to stack it. X-axis is going to remain the date created. We're actually going to stack it by, and we're stacking it by the case type. And what we can do is actually an expanded stack. So it depends how you want to view it. And a standard stack is obviously it just stacks on top of one another. If you expand it, they go into different like lines, so you can see here, but obviously it can get quite polluted as you go across all of the months. But expanded stack, that might be quite useful. And then the y-axis is going to be case profit in this particular instance. And then customize, again, basic information, benchmark lines, boards, whatever, groups. So now I can see this is a case profit per case type per month. So I can see here that the Broken Door is actually this month generated $2,500 in profit, whereas this particular change request, which is actually called a change request, it only generated $150 in profit this month. Now, if I go back to our cases here, I can observe that we have this one. So this is case revenue. Let's just put in 200 and maybe £10 in cost. And let's just put in this one here, I don't know, 7,000. I'm just making this up. And and then £100 in cost. I mean, that would be a dream, wouldn't it? Right? And you can see here how this then looks for the month. Whereas if I go to settings and then I go to our stack by and then just remove the expanded stack, you can see how it shows the whole month in the breakdown per case type like that instead. Just some more things to show you. Of course, this could go on forever, but I'm just going to duplicate this again, and then we're going to change it. We're going to continue to use the stack, but we're going to go case created per month or by contact per month. So now we're able to see the number of cases created by a contact on a monthly basis. So again, chart type needs to be stacked. X-axis is going to be month. Then we're going to look at stack by. Now stack by in this particular instance is going to be the contact record. It could be the company because obviously that's a mirror, but I'm just going to set contact for the time being. And then our Y-axis, I'm just going to go all at once and then just count. Okay. So then what we are seeing here is the number of cases that have been created on a monthly basis by the person. You can see 2 are empty and 2 are Nick. Now, if I go back to our cases board and I change this one to Sally and this one to Alex, and then go back to our case dashboard or our reporting, what we will see is how this has now been changed. Okay. And we can click into this 3-dotted button again, go to settings and do the expanded stack if we wanted to, and then we can see it by person as well, like that on a monthly basis. Or if you don't want to do it by month, you can just do chart type being a standard one, X-axis being the contact record, Y-axis being the count record, and you'd be able to see the total number of cases created by a contact, just not on a monthly basis. So there's stuff like that we can do as well. I'm trying to think what else you could do. I mean, you've got the data, so you can split it however you want. You could do contacts or cases created by contact per year, cases created by contact based on the case type. You can literally, or yeah, contact. Yeah, I mean, there's so far you could go with this. Hopefully this gives you a good insight into the reporting functionality that is available within Monday.com for case management. This can, again, just go on forever and ever and ever and ever. So if you'd like us to help you with this, check out the link below. We would love to help. It can just become a lot more complicated. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Thank you ever so much for watching. Check out the link below if you'd like us to help you with any of this. Thank you and goodbye.